These magic mice, right? Oh my
Absolute
god.
It is the magic mouse.
maniac.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
I don't know
That's
how you're doing
terrible.
it. I really tried. I give it a go, but no, it just doesn't
Magically
work.
terrible. Well, I mean, I'm glad
Alrighty,
you have a
we're
mouse at
live.
least.
We're live, people. Just heads up. There we go.
Otherwise, you
Uh,
can't play Rogue
Woo!
Nation, right? In your editor.
Without a mouse.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's
have you
good.
tried
Okay.
playing without a mouse? It's insane. Like, who plays shooters with a trackpad is an absolute maniac.
I use,
What happened to the good old
those
fashioned
work
controller? Come
computers.
on.
I mean, the
No,
controller.
I use.
Man, I wish we would support controllers, man. I wish it would be so good.
If
What do
only.
you mean we do?
If only.
If only. If only.
I
Look at
use
our
that.
lead
I use that
developer
little.
smirking.
I don't know about you guys, but I use that little red dot that your dad has on his laptop, his work laptop.
Oh, the thing.
Have you guys ever?
Oh, you.
Oh, the
Yeah.
little clitoris thing.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lenovo cleats are the best.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not
this
great
is,
either.
I wish Bruni was with us.
I mean, that's how they called it. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I know. And I don't know why they're still doing it.
Well, I know why.
It's like just build a nice touchpad, you know?
Yeah, why? I mean, this was like 90s, man, when they had these things.
Alrighty, so
I'm sorry.
welcome everybody.
Anyway,
Ralph, kick this thing off, man. What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah,
host.
yeah.
sorry.
It takes so long.
All
We're
right.
16 minutes late, and it's all your fault.
it's my
I
fault,
agree.
of course. Yeah, Master of Ceremonies really dropped the ball there. Anyway,
Yeah.
welcome everyone to our Town Hall Rogue Nation, focusing on ARPGs today in honor of the release of Diablo this week. Show of hands, who's got to play the game already? If you have any free time.
Oh, come on, like who's
Hey.
not playing the game? Duh.
I'm almost
Alex Patrick.
there.
Almost playing it.
Awesome.
Almost playing it.
I over the weekend played about I think 5 or 6 hours total.
Oh, damn.
You finished it.
Alex,
I
what's...
just created the character.
Yeah, exactly. This is. Oh man, I spent about 30 seconds on my character. But
You're like,
go,
get
go,
me in
go
the
in
game.
Necro, you know, as you do.
Necro's nice.
I
Yeah,
also
I'm
chose Necro.
kind of regretting it.
Really?
Why?
I wish I went rogue, you know?
Because of Rogue
Everybody-
Nation.
For
Rogue,
obvious
rogue
reasons.
just sounds better, you know? It feels better. It's just something about it.
Here's what I did.
Feels right, doesn't it?
I got Necromancer. I gave him all the thorns and the extra skeletons I could find. And while I'm doing quests, the skeletons go around and just snipe off screen monsters. And I was so over leveled by the time I finished the campaign. Because
Okay,
it's
we
like
should,
passive income.
talk because this is like I'm trying to get on this train because, man, yeah, my skellies suck. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you NPCs? Come on, think for yourselves. Like, every time I'm at a boss, like, you know these wind ups and the animation on the ground, like as a circle, like. On command, it's like my skeletons are like, oh, I guess we just all jump inside of this together, and you're dead.
To
Just,
die.
like, yeah.
Yeah, but if you stack thorns when that boss does that million damage, basically
Yeah,
he punches himself in the mouth.
Yeah,
Which is
I need to do this. Yeah, we should talk about your build. Like, this is the thing, is like you gotta kind of like study for real ARPGs. There's a lot of options. Like you can just jump into it.
And you know,
But I think it's cool that it's really replayable, and this is where ability come from. You're like, damn, you know, I spent this hours, but, well, I will spend more hours because I have a theory how to make my build better.
yeah, and also you have to study every time you start a new character. You have to study again as well, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fun.
That-
That's the fun.
Yeah, I know it's part of the fun, but it's so time consuming, and we are adults with lives and functional people, and that means we don't have the time.
I mean, I'll tell you, if we
My-
were in
You
the
assume.
middle of fun. This is the thing. Like anything I do right now is just like, fuck. I should be doing this other thing. Like I can't even enjoy it. It's just like I gotta send
You'll
out
look
emails.
back at your life and the
Gotta follow.
trade-off.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
miss showers for like 5 days because we're doing some decks.
No, I don't know about that. I shower.
Makita, I don't think anybody's asked you not to shower.
Yeah.
I mean, who needs a shower if you
I'm
don't go
saving
outside?
time. I'm saving time.
Poor Olya.
Who needs a shower if you don't go outside?
Exactly.
Alex, be honest though. How many hours did you put in to Diablo already?
Are you level cap?
I'm level 56 out of 100. It's like super slow, and I'm not doing optimized content.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hold the applause.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not playing like optimally. I didn't collect all the permanent buffs. I'm mostly like playing with my cousin. We've been playing each Diablo since like 30 years ago, whenever the hell Diablo 1 came. And it's more fun playing with him or with like a group made out of strangers than
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
For sure.
We should.
I think that's the coolest thing.
We need to have a moonlit night where we play Diablo. Game night.
We
keep
said that
talking about game
about-
night. We did it like once or
We've said
twice,
that
and then it's
about every
like it
single
died.
game.
Yeah, like it. And then you know what we should
No, I
do
like
is
it.
actually
Did,
like inside
Lost
Discord. We could probably do a game night, invite a bunch of people.
That's what Discord is made for.
Yeah, it's almost like
Literally,
it was
actually.
literally made for it, huh? It's,
Yeah, it is, no?
Yeah.
Who are these crazy people doing town halls when really they should just be playing games?
I know.
Next town hall. It's gonna be us.
Just a landmark.
real
Next
time.
town hall,
It's
let's
actually
play.
gonna be a Twitch stream. We're gonna be playing games.
That's such a great idea.
Oh, I mean, this is also a Twitch stream.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Huh?
All
So
right,
why aren't we playing
have
games
it here.
now?
Well, we haven't set it up, but next time, we'll do the next town hall as a let's play, and we can all vote on the game we want to play, or suggest. I don't know. Maybe. Do you think we can invite people to do that?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Join
saying.
us,
Like, we
like,
can do whatever we want, man.
Cora
What do you
go?
mean? Cora's like
amazing.
first in line. This guy's VIP.
VIP. I love it.
Cora, have you played
I mean, we've already
Diablo 4 yet? Are you going to play?
Cora did say he was having trouble message in the town hall, so
Oh,
if you want, you can just message in the rogue chat. But
Yeah.
we'll check that too. It's okay.
Yeah, so
Welcome,
I mean,
El Hammy.
you know, you can't start an ARPG conversation without Diablo, especially with the release of Diablo 4, which is, God, what is it?
Yeah.
8 years, 9 years in the making?
11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
11. God, time flies.
11 years.
But you know, minus the COVID times, those don't count.
Yeah.
Damn,
It counted
11.
It counted when you're counting, but it didn't count for development years.
Yeah.
This is just this was a question. Does anyone, because you guys have all been in the games industry longer than I have, but does anyone know anyone who's worked for Diablo? For making the Diablos?
I have some people in my network that
Blizzard.
have. Yeah, I know someone. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Well,
Because it's
I
supposed to
mean,
be quite
wait.
like a mythic in terms of like game development. Like I just know Diablo 3 was a crazy story because they totally messed up the whole launcher
yeah, that
thing.
was that thing.
Wow,
They messed
a
up many
couple
things. in
things.
Diablo 3.
Exactly. Like, I think there's a smaller list of what they got right, but the games are absolutely like the game teams are mammoth size. So it's
Yeah, they're so huge.
it's like this is kind of the thing about AAA. So I'll just take like an artist for example. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh man, I come out of Diablo 4 having like the broadest technical skills. I spent 2.5 years on, grass shaders. It's just like very specified because there's thousands of people that work on these games, and so you get to touch a very small piece. It's not like mobile game development, or especially like what you see here, where it's everyone's kind of getting to touch everything. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's a
That's
lot
why
of
we're
people
here,
that do
right?
work on these these types of games, but to varying degrees.
I'm so happy I don't do this. It's like, oh, what did you do the last 2 years? I was like, I worked on the smoke shader of this one enemy in Diablo for 2 years. It's like,
Yeah.
You're just
okay,
jealous.
that's,
Yeah. Or
I'm very jealous.
I did weapon design for daggers.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
exactly.
like
It's
cool.
like I did 1 or 2 quests in every biome or something
Yeah,
like that. It's
yeah.
like what?
Right. That would
Yeah,
be
there's
your
no
job
agency.
as a game designer.
That actually would. There's actually quest designers, dedicated quest designers. Yeah. So they're not game designers. They're technically level designers, narrative designers, I guess.
Yeah, narrative. I mean,
No,
it
there
just
is no
depends
narrative
what it is.
designers anymore. That's it. They're
Yeah.
gone.
Man,
There's
there's
only
just too
G-
many.
GPT chat is there.
there's only
It's all
jazz
AI.
design. But
There's only prompt
what
designers now.
other ARPGs like? I mean,
Zelda.
Does the Zelda count as an ARPG?
I mean, it's an adventure game, but to be fair, it's a lot of it's action.
yeah.
It's swords action plus you do level up in a way. There's no level
Yeah.
really, but
I mean,
there
it's
is kind of there
absolutely an
is
Yeah.
RPG.
But the level
It
up is all
is.
in the background, right?
yeah, but it's an RPG for sure.
Yeah.
I
Is
think
God
it
of War?
counts.
God
Yeah,
of War.
I would say so.
Wasn't there like a period where every game was ARPG that was
I
like
mean,
AAA?
I mean, real
super
life is an
broad genre.
ARPG. You know,
Yeah,
lot of action
yeah.
going on, and it's a lot of
No, but
role
I mean,
playing.
so Elder Scrolls games are action RPGs.
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed games are action RPGs if you think about it.
they definitely
Games
evolved
like
into, right?
the new Final Fantasy VII remake is an ARPG because it has real-time action and not a turn-based system anymore. So it became an ARPG if you think about it. It's
Uh-huh.
super annoying because I wanted to play turn-based because I'm old. But like,
Oh, you like the turn base?
dude, for Final Fantasy, yes. Like what? Like
Yeah,
Final Fantasy has to be turn-based,
you're going
man.
old
It's
school.
That's
like
their thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of their thing. And I liked Kingdom Hearts a lot. That's kind of action RPG Final Fantasy plus Disney. So that's an
Yeah.
ARPG too. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
and Zelda are my two favorite ones if you think about it. But also
I'm
Assassin's
grabbing
Creed, I
some
played
more.
tons of them, and I played a lot of
My
Oblivion. So
my
and if you think about it that
RPG,
way, then you also have Fallout, which is also an
of course.
RPG, but it's a shooter. So I don't know, is this an action RPG or is it like a shooter RPG? I don't know. It's all a bit blurry, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I know that personally my I mean all my RPG introduction was also turn-based.
yeah.
But I think in terms of
That's
action,
by definition not action. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. But in terms of action RPG, yeah, I would say Skyrim is probably the thing I spent the most hours
Yeah,
on.
Skyrim is cool, man. Such a good game.
Skyrim was really cool. And then, I mean, action RPG, Hades, right? I mean, that's literally within our
Oh man,
genre too, right?
definitely that's a roguelike action RPG.
Yeah. So those I think for me are the top two. But I will say, and the reason why I'm excited about Diablo, the thing is, I don't actually have full disclosure. I don't have any console that can play Diablo at the moment, so it's a little bit frustrating. But
Yeah, same here.
um,
Actually, no, I do have.
I remember Diablo back in like 2000, when I would go to like my older friends' houses. I distinctly have this memory of going to an older friend's house. He was actually the son of the chaplain of the Catholic school that I was going to in Japan. And
God.
and they had like this computer, this PC, and it was like, and that was Diablo, and I was just watching him for hours, just like kill skeletons or whatever. And it was just
On
like
his
mind blowing for me.
on his Toshiba.
I don't know what it was, but I just like blew my mind, and then I saw it a couple years later in America, and it's like a mythical game that I think the first time you see it, you never forget it. And then I eventually got it on the Xbox 360, the Diablo 3, when they released all of those like fully packaged editions for like $10, and that was really nice to do with
That's
friends.
what Blizzard games do anyway. The first Blizzard game you played when you were young, that's definitely the one you will never forget that you started playing this because it's very characteristic and mythical in a sense. For me, it was Warcraft 3, but I do know what you feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, with Diablo 4.
Yeah.
A good start.
Yeah.
I think
So for
StarCraft
me, that's sort of
was the first one.
Yeah.
no, I mean, I guess that's for me. That's kind of the impact of the franchise. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else has memories. Alex, you talked about playing with your cousin. That
Yeah.
must be pretty cool.
Yeah, we
Nice.
had the imagine a net cafe computer that was yellowed by all the cigarette, and the keyboard was crushed in half and then duct taped together.
Home
And then
sweet
he bought
home.
that. Yeah, um, we bought that together because we were, poor and kids.
And in
And
Romania.
hey,
Wow.
So you don't have to kick him
Wow.
while he's down.
Yikes.
was that really necessary?
Life's
Yeah,
been
anyway,
hard enough, man. Come on.
Started at the bottom, now he's here. It's cool.
Yeah, in the middle.
I was just
Um,
saying because we didn't have any smoky internet cafes. That's the point. Like,
Oh,
No, we didn't.
well, they were very common.
We
no,
We
did.
were like playing Heroes 3 and
yeah, you
Counter
did, but I
Strike,
didn't.
and I guess
Yeah.
the East European thing more.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you go into the basement. There is a lot of kind of like cheap old, used like electronics, all kind of smoked up. There is some very questionable people hanging around. Sometimes they start to fight. Good old times.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Never
I mean,
experienced this.
your time is clearly up, and it's my turn. Of course, fighting is appropriate.
You're
But
like
yeah,
hovering over the other person.
we were doing the thing where one of us would sleep, the other one would play, because it was Diablo 1 at the time, and
Classic.
the forces of evil won't destroy themselves.
Would never stop. Yeah. Did you learn any like life lessons from that experience? Like, were you like was there a moment where you were like, oh yeah, this is what it means to grow up or something like that?
What?
No, but
Just a total waste of time.
yeah. No, but as a game developer, I learned comparing Diablo 1 with Diablo 2 that we aren't anywhere near, like we just scratched the surface in terms of human creativity with game design and art and even programming. We're still innovating, and we're still finding newer, better ways to entertain each other. We've gone a long way
Amen.
from telling stories around the campfire. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. More experiential storytelling.
I guess
And
that loops in well with the
What do you guys?
Apple VR set.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh God.
Did I just steal that from you?
No. This is a long ways off. For gaming, it's gonna be a tough one. Like I think probably a couple years away, and then also, yeah, if you want to be in isolation and have everyone spend 4K to have it, like
I mean, this is iteration one,
niche of
but
the niche. Yeah, exactly. But this is
Well, I know one
it
platform
ain't
that
going
really
mainstream. Everyone, like, chill.
can have a good use of it.
Yeah. It's like the Oculus Pro
Nikita.
costing like 1,100 euros or something like that.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's like, what the fuck, man?
But I think from an ARPG, because I think of like a couple like mammoths of the industry, but I think my favorite was Destiny because it took third person shooting and like secretly had like a pretty hardcore MMO-esque ARPG bend to it. I think this is just like so cool from like a hybrid shoot and loot type game because this is we're making this except not like
It's a very cool game. It's an
Yeah.
MMO kind of as well.
yeah big
In
time.
a way.
I think what they did was as Alex is talking about Diablo 1 to Diablo 2, of course, big strides. I think Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 there was some cool things that they iterated on and made it more accessible and realized their audience isn't play while your friend sleeps and then you sleep and I play. So I thought that they did some really interesting things to like refine what hardcore ARPG mechanics looked like for an age in which you're not going to get people to spend 10 hours a day. And then I think that also, at least Destiny 1 kind of gave life to other games like Warframe, but Warframe was like a free to play, like very early on. I think it actually, they did a Kickstarter and then were free to play. But
Warframe is programming wise. Warframe is state of the art. There is no other game in existence that comes close to
really,
that code base. It's incredible.
Why do you say this?
Yeah, what is it about it specifically?
It's like whenever you have a game that's this old. Let me see. When was Warframe?
Like 2012, 2013, something like around there. I don't know.
2013. So it's 10 years old, and usually by now it would have been a Warframe 2 with a totally different engine with new blah blah, but the same engine, and they keep evolving it without bloating it, and it still runs smooth. Like it runs on a crappy laptop. The cooler does not get triggered, and it runs at 1,000 FPS. It's always a pleasure to play Warframe.
What do you think of PoE? Like you can't talk about ARPGs without the Diablo 4 before Diablo 4.
How many hours do we have available? Because I have nothing but good things to say.
Yeah,
So
this is.
So Path of Exile 2 will be officially announced at the end of July. They have like a Comic-Con event in New
Yeah.
Zealand.
Yeah, they've.
And everybody said that it's Diablo 4 versus Path of Exile 2 as the new gen.
Yeah.
But Diablo 4 is weaker than Path of Exile 1.
You think so? I mean, but the thing is, like, from a feature standpoint,
Yeah, it's a bit
maybe
unfair.
so.
Right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
early.
They have a 10-year head start.
No, because Diablo 4 is expanding on the Diablo 3 formula. There's no innovation compared with Diablo 3. They're just pretty graphics and high def sounds. But game mechanic wise, it looks like it was a waste of time to make all the seasons Diablo 3 because there are no new game mechanics.
They just didn't want to fail like they failed in Diablo 3's launching.
They have a proven formula.
Make sure everything works.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
proven. Diablo has a proven formula. They are afraid of innovating too much because it'll estrange their people. Even Diablo
This has
Immortal
been the
is better
case
than
since
Diablo
Diablo
4.
1 already. Diablo 1 and 2 and 3 are different. They have added some stuff, but it's still very similar, right?
Yeah. Like what is the biggest difference that you see? Like the fact that gems don't give abilities, or because I don't think they give abilities in 4, right? At least none of the things I've
So
slotted so far.
no, they don't. We can put everything in a subjective box that it's a matter of preference. But end game content is something that all of us need to enjoy
For
because
sure.
the campaign is like 20 hours, and then theoretically there's hundreds and thousands of hours of end game. And Diablo 4 has no end game. You go through the same dungeons with the same character with the same game mechanics. Whereas at Path of Exile, you can literally craft your end game. Like craft it either by randomizing the stuff inside of it, or juicing or removing juice to make it easier or harder. There are
Sure.
dozens of
But you like
environments.
also the intro to one game is not like the other. Like you gotta like you better know your fucking PC ARPGs to get into Path of Exile, right? Like PoE is pretty hardcore. Like I think
The learning curve is steeper. I will agree with that.
yeah.
But the thing is, the game gives you through quests and side quests everything you need to beat the final boss in Act 10. If you do not pick anything inside of the game, theoretically, everything the quests give you is enough for you to kill the final boss
I mean, I would also point
at
out
the minimum.
PoE, free to play, always a super gold star for me compared to Diablo, where just to even get the
80
mediocre
bucks.
like early edition, it was what $80. Like this is insane.
And both of them have microtransactions. For Path of Exile, this is how they survive and
It's free to
expand.
play,
And
right? Yeah.
yeah, it's a freemium model. But for Path of Exile, for Diablo 4, they're penny and diming everything.
Yeah, well, this is kind of what I genuinely don't like as an approach when the game is kind of premium, so you have to pay for it, but also there is more kind of in-app transactions, and you're like, you
Yeah.
paid the game, you
Yeah.
know, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I expected in Diablo 4 that all of the microtransactions are earnable through achievements. Like you do
Exactly.
you do a zone and you get an armor that represents the zone. You do a ocean zone with fishing, you get the pirate skin or whatever.
Yeah, it's essentially paying for time or progress, however you want to like consider it. But you can achieve it through RNG drops, but because it's in the store, you're able to get it. And I don't think that is the case. I think they really have content that is gated by purchase, which is insane when the game is a premium game. It just breaks a lot of free to play standards in which free to play has already proven to be the dominant business model. I mean, there's just way too many free to play AAA console, or even as we're saying, like their biggest competitor. Like, do you know if PoE 2? I'm assuming is gonna be free to play, right?
So Path of Exile 2 is gonna be the same game, only a separate campaign that happens 50 years later as lore. So the character you're playing is a different character that's like 50 years later. But it's the same exe, it's just gonna be like an Omega expansion.
Okay.
Like Overwatch.
And when you make
I
when you
hope
make
not
a new
like
character,
Overwatch 2.
no, no, not like Overwatch. It's more like Diablo 3, the the extra
Reaper Souls.
expansion. Yeah, it's more like Reaper Souls, but 5 more acts instead of just 1 act. And when you make a new character, it's either the classical in the past character or the current present type character, but all of them merge back into the end game content, which is equal for everybody.
Oh, you know what I was another one. Is there any Monster
Another
Hunter
one.
fans?
Oh my god,
Me.
Monster Hunter.
I love it. Alex is literally just like. Did you
Because every
say
game is
ARPG?
like, yep.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think
If I
there's a
can
reason why he
customize
hopped
my
into this
character,
town hall.
Yeah, I love
if I
it.
can customize my character to a high degree, then it's the kind of game I like, even if it's a racing game, even if it's a platformer.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I love
That's good.
making stupid builds in Monster Hunter with the craziest combination of effects, just because it's fun or it's unique or it's maybe hard and I enjoy collecting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I also
didn't.
think Monster Hunter is beautiful in its own weird way.
How so?
I just like being
about-
in that world.
What about Dark Souls?
I have never played the Dark Souls game.
So okay, is it an A? Yeah, is it?
Of course.
I mean,
it
it's
is.
but it's almost like a subset of ARPG where it's just so
the
punishing.
subset where you have to hate yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
play.
Just need
Like,
to think about your action part a lot before doing the action.
there's a lot of skin in the game on that action. Yeah, like,
It's a little bit of a super action RPG.
I love what
but
I love
Elden
about Dark
Ring as
Souls.
well.
What I love about Dark Souls is that the lore is explained through items, not through blah 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 skip. So you can like theory craft interpretations of very vague sentences or fragments of a sentence or where you found that item, where it drops.
but I think
Yeah.
a lot of games
Yeah.
do this well. Because as you're saying this, I just remember when I had played a ton of Destiny 2. And
Yeah, and Path of Exile does the same thing.
yeah, it's you play
That's
maybe
awesome.
5%, and then you learn all this stuff from these like one-off little Easter eggs throughout the game. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean,
Make items more than just numbers. It gives them a personality.
yeah, it's creating a story through artifacts, which I think is a very human way to relate to things, right? It's like you pick
And
up an
I wish
object,
we made a
this is
game
now
like
yours,
this.
you have a story.
Yeah.
If
Well,
only
we
we
didn't
could
get
make a
VR.
game that. I know. I'm kidding. That's what I'm saying.
There's a
You
lot of opportunity
silly.
for flavor text in our thing, no?
There is. There is.
Yeah, big time.
flavor text.
Yeah.
Especially
Actually,
if
so
we
this
AI
brings
Not
me
just
generate.
to
flavor
the.
text and more just like, really
Just flavor, no text.
just flavor.
It's spicy
What
in
does
here.
your weapon taste like?
Success.
This is
Um,
some
You
like
could-
borderline
you wanna
scratch
take
and
me
sniff
to,
stuff right here.
Yeah. Sniff my rifle.
that's when we get the VR set going for Rogue Nation.
Oh my god.
When I was
But
watching this Apple thing, this is what I was
yeah,
thinking. Like, okay, for like the far future, like this stuff could be very cool as far as the experiential. Like when they were talking about the movie, and then you have like the backdrop of the
yeah,
movie taking up your
that-
view, so you could be like on the mountainside watching this movie. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. But if I want to watch
Yeah.
it with one other person, that's an extra, 3.5K.
Patrick, there's only one game that will make VR popular, AR popular actually, and it's Pokemon. Until that happens, it's gonna be a expensive gimmick for streamers and rich people to play it once and then put it in the bag.
Yeah. I also think that there's going to be some interesting application. Like once you're in the Apple ecosystem, like you're there. So I could see as creatives really going to town with this in interesting ways, like whether or not.
well, they already are.
Well, I mean, from an editing standpoint, right? Like, think about how you could, be on your MacBook and chopping and slicing up a video or an image or any of these types of things when you can really like go extremely large and see it. Yeah, exactly. And then their gestures, I know right now are super basic, but when they start to get a little more complex, I think this is.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, that was what was most exciting about that reveal. I think, aside from the being on a mountainside to watch a movie by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, I think we probably all know people who are in sort of that like VR design, like 3D interactive space, who are like testing out their own little projects for that kind of. It's just not so mainstream, I guess.
Well, artists use VR from day one because art originates in physical gestures with your hands, so it was very comfortable and natural for them to adopt it.
Yeah, I
Awkward that
tried.
Makita hasn't weighed in on this yet.
No, so I tried. For sculpting, I think it's really cool, especially if you are modeling the environment. Or so one of the things that I tried to do, like when I got in touch with this, I think it was like Gravity Sketch or something. I tried to design like a cockpit around myself, and then it was kind of cool. So you're like, well, here will be some, displays, and here will be my doors, and here's the like windshield, and you kind of like sitting in the environment that you're drawing around yourself in space. Super cool. But still, like to have it at home, you still need to have a little bit more space, and then not everything you can be done with it. And like when you go into a bit more polished stuff, you still need to kind of sit down at your desk and really like refine it because it's not that accurate as a tool.
But do you think with
I mean,
AI
there's no thing.
assisted tooling, you'll be able to just use VR for the entire process?
I don't want to.
Fair.
I think there are people. So Timo was like one of the art leads at Vuga. He was using VR for one-on-ones with his teams, with his team, kind of like peers. So he would meet with an artist and kind of go for a walk in VR or like do some shit like this.
The future is now.
I don't know. I'm so not excited to have like a ski mask on top of my face.
I
like,
know
for
it
half
gives
of the
me a
day.
hangover feeling. Like after 10 minutes, I feel like I have a hangover. It's like it's
So-
really annoying.
Yeah.
If I would have a choice of like the large, I don't know how many inch display or VR, I would go for display any time of the day.
Worse.
But what
Yeah.
if VR glasses would be something like Ralph has on his face, that big? And
Oh, I wish it was something like Google Glass. Huh?
yeah, remember that?
Remember that? That was such
That's
a big
not VR.
success.
That would be AR though.
AR.
right?
Okay,
That's
I know
fine.
when I would switch to VR. Well, first, if I would switch my job to design in something spacious, so let's say either car environments or maybe even some kind of place where people do work, and then to kind of evaluate the space that I'm designing, it would be cool to do it in VR. Or if I would be doing products for VR, but if we're even designing art that will be seen on the phone display, to make it inside VR is kind of like you're creating another obstacle for yourself. You need to see as close as possible the final result, as close to final as it is. That's why checking on the phone is super important. So for me to make art in VR and then trying to make it work for the phone display sounds detrimental.
I mean, once they make the contact lenses, I'm in.
Okay, so when we will start do VR games, we'll jump into VR.
Insert the chip into my brain, please.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, Neuralink now has approval for human testing, so it's the beginning of the
Don't
end.
sign me up. Take your money and go, please.
This is where I'm definitely like, I'll wait for the second generation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you pay me, I won't do that.
Yeah.
Just with the last 10 minutes, trying to rein the conversation back into ARPGs. This was I wanted to make this kind of the core of the conversation, but I guess we can make this also part of the closing statement. I think all of you guys will probably have a different perspective, which is really cool because you're all approaching action RPGs from a different way. And who knew that Alex was such a big fan? But a question I think will be good to capture for people who are listening to recording. I know they'll have a couple people recording, listening to this. If we're successful, like Rogue Nation, all of the features to the max. Obviously, when, but I don't want to jinx anything. But
There's no jinxes here.
what would you say? Only Mr. Mimes. If we, when we're successful, what would you say, or what would you like to be like the piece that like Rogue Nation has added to the evolution of ARPGs? And I think part of it is also to define like what makes ARPG so interesting from like a gameplay point of view, and what is it that we do that is either going to be different or exciting.
Well, I hate compromising in RPGs in general. Like I said, my in Diablo 4, my Necro Thorns build is not viable. In Path of Exile, you can make any combination of anything viable. You can make a strength-based spellcasters that uses daggers to cast spells, just because you feel like it, or this is your favorite thing in the world. In games like Diablo, you cannot. I would really like if we can push Rogue Nation in a situation where you make a shotgun that shoots grenades that bounce off the walls, because this is my favorite thing ever, and I want to enjoy it in multiple experiences.
Emergence.
I love that.
Letting players do crazy stuff at the cost of hand-holding.
Game design.
Having them play with it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want flame wars
at the cost of sanity.
That my build is better. Yes, I want flame wars on the internet that this build is better than this build.
Yeah,
that would be great.
And both of those builds are the two most obscure things you could ever think of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's true. There's a lot of magic to that self-discovery, and like that exists. That can be that conversation should exist online. I remember, from my point of view, what made Skyrim so special, but then is completely a divergence from that point, is that I went so hardcore on like the high elf, like full destruction magic. Like it really drove me to optimize for this archetype. That was kind of like, here's the pathway, the fastest way to that. And so I guess in that way, it was a very uncreative process, actually, because you could have just followed the 1,000-page instruction manual to do this, and okay, that's my experience now. I'm like this I mean, I took advantage of certain exploits, but now, like if I wanted to diverge a little bit from that, I wouldn't have that like 100% optimized like experience that I was looking for. Whereas if those things were valid in a different way, that would be really exciting.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think it fits with the
what you're
idea that
talking about
mobile.
is having just primary metas taking over a game. Like this is kind of
Yeah,
boring, but I can see why
yeah,
some games have done this. You know, if your revenue, especially if you're a free to play game, if your revenue is based on mixing it up, like oh everybody has everything they need with these specific characters, like let's change the meta and then make this thing a little more optimal for right now, which is not so fun.
yeah.
In Path of Exile, if I can simp a little bit more.
No, you can't.
Come on. There's a gem called Righteous Fire, which it's a passive ability that burns you and the enemies around you. So the purpose of the build is just increasing your survival to your own damage, but otherwise it just wins the game for you, which is so different than the concept of having a weapon and making that weapon stronger. And this is something I really love to implement.
I think that's what I find in my experience of building weird decks in Magic the Gathering also.
Yeah.
Is
So
that you
we
have
have
that leeway.
4 minutes left. I want to hear from Makita and Neek, at least.
Let's do it.
So I do like the Excalibur type of thing that you're talking about quite often, but what attracts there for me is because all the items are unique because of their past history, and all the items are like identifiably unique. So when you hold specific like sword, then we know that it is this sword. And if you sell it to me, or like you give it to me, it's exactly this sword that you owned. So we will have actual like legendary weapons in terms of user 12345 killed this
Layer.
massive beast some I don't know 2 years ago, and you can own exactly this particular sword that killed this monster. If somebody wins the competition, it's not about what kind of build this person has. You can literally have the same weapon that this person used to win the championship. I think this is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because otherwise we need to replicate this weapon from a build that we see online.
Yeah, and it's kind of like very close to what's happening in real life. Imagine Tiger Woods winning the championship, and probably this particular how it's called
Golf club?
club is worth more than exactly the same club that was just standing in the store, and we can
true.
get to those moments.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that so Tiger Woods club will be no different technically, other than Tiger Woods used it and touched it. Where
exactly.
Our game actually has leveraging provenance, a way in which we can add boosts. Like imagine you have like a winning the Masters boost, right? That gives you something that is very specific to this weapon. So I think there's just like lots of things that we can take the principles of physical reality and apply those to digital, and then plus one it, right? Because we're still in a digital space.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
How about Unique?
Add a layer. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking more about it from a gameplay experience point of view, where I would love Rogue Nation to be one of the most accessible, low threshold entry games that are ARPGs basically. So normally ARPGs are quite hardcore, and what I would love is making Rogue Nation, at least the first time user experience, really close to what a hyper casual first time user experience would be, where you just jump into the action right away.
We don't use that word here.
I mean, almost, I said.
I kid.
And I think that's a very noble thing to do, because I think I get like a lot of like, man, if you open any Asian game, I feel like I have no freaking idea what I'm gonna do. Everything is too complicated. There's icons everywhere. I have no idea what to do, and I would really like to unlock all the systems in the game in a way that it would be very accessible and that players can really start playing very easily. But then we'll find a lot of strategy behind like gameplay and also ways to customize their builds and loadouts and stuff like this. That would be really, really nice. in
Yeah,
my
a bit
opinion.
of, easy to
Making it really
onboard,
accessible.
breadcrumb
Yeah.
them into a lot of these systems
Oh yeah.
through, very accessible features. Exactly what we've,
Exactly.
well, actually, a group of us have done on another game with,
Yep.
a demographic that, most people would say would not be accepting of some of the things that we put into the game because we took a lot from ARPGs and
Yeah, definitely.
it's fundamentally we're all humans. Cognitively, we're after the same things, and our
Yep.
brains generally work very similar to each other. It's just figuring out the motivational path in which our users want to go down to get these little chemicals we're creating. But anyway,
Yeah, exactly. And then really find cool ways to make your playstyle unique. And
Yeah.
that's the end goal, In the beginning you do what everyone does and what everyone can do, and then you grow into some personality that no one else has. That's really cool, I think.
yeah, and I think if we can, walk towards that line with I wouldn't say hand holding, but certainly we're here to give players agency, but there's this, certain guide that we can go towards just to make that onboarding more accessible and cast a wider net because we're here to like get a lot of
Yeah.
users.
Players.
Yeah, them too.
Yeah. Not making an app.
Patrick, I don't know if you have any closing statements in terms of you specifically, what stone you'd like to add to the ARPG edifice.
We're
But
about to
otherwise,
like
we'll
hands
close
down
with.
make the best mobile cross-platform free-to-play ARPG that has ever existed, and
Oh yeah.
everyone get out of the way. You're about to get crushed. No,
I love it.
I
I love
think
it.
just to like touch on what everyone
Start
said.
making other games.
Yeah, like
If you have a similar plan, if you want to go to the same genre, same market, just start making a new game because it's game over.
yeah. We're doing too cool of stuff. No, but
Yeah,
but
exactly.
honestly, just like the emergent aspect and being able to onboard players in what most people would view as a niche market, but I think even just looking at mobile, like we're like, there's a lot of players out there, and I think we'll be able to convert a lot more
Oh, yeah.
into what you would consider an ARPG. And I think we're going to end up being a game in which it's going to be hard to categorize. And this is the beauty about really great games, and even some of the games that we already talked about. It's like, oh man, well, but that was like a TPS, and that was a this, and that was a that, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
what they did was they started to blend genres, and it was like, that's why we're talking about them 10 years later. So
Yep.
Yeah.
we're doing that. We're just like, take what's core to this
Super modest about
genre,
it.
times it by 10, add even more things to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Things people don't even. Technology that we're still inventing, basically.
Well, we didn't invent it.
Yeah,
We're just
we're all-
leveraging it in a way that,
Exactly.
for us, it was like, wait, people aren't doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing your thoughts. This is really exciting. I hope people who are listening to recording, you get to know us a little bit more. 3 little announcements to close. One is, Patrick, you're going to be talking to DAP Radar tomorrow. That's going to be a pretty big, exciting talk about leveraging blockchain in gaming, right?
Yeah, DAP Radar,
Um,
come on. Everybody knows DAP Radar if you know any blockchain.
exactly.
So chatting with them tomorrow, it's going to be exciting.
And if everybody knows DAP Radar and we're on DAP Radar, then everybody knows us. Ayo.
That's how it works.
And we're also, for those of you who are in the Berlin area this weekend, you can come find us and even play Rogue Nation at Web3 Berlin or Berlin Web3.
Not just play. Play it with a
Controller.
And then the last point is for the top 50 who have been performing in Rogue Nation, you do have a tier 1 whitelist to Super Champs, which is minting
now,
as we speak.
right?
So hop into the launch pad now if you, I think it's not too late. But yeah, enjoy your celebratory Superfan ticket. So yeah, that's it, everyone. Thank you for coming. And let's see. I think next week we're going to have an office hours where it's going to be a bit more informal. No real subject, but come with your questions, and hopefully we'll have some new updates, content around our community about what's going on that you can try, that we can talk about. And then also, I think for the next town hall, we should definitely make it a playable one. So
Yeah.
let's go for that, and see you in a couple of weeks for that. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Yeah,
Have
thank
a
you.
great day.